All right, for a closer look at the impeachment legal battle, we want to bring in former Justice Department National Security Prosecutor Joseph Moreno. He is joining us now from Washington, D.C. So, Joseph, how successful have Democrats been at presenting their case in proving that President Trump abused his power? There have been a lot of, even Republicans, it's been reported that Lindsey Graham sort of gave a pat on the back to Adam Schiff. He's sort of been masterful in presenting. You can see the former prosecutor in him presenting the evidence, such as they have, to the full Senate.
Good morning, Vlad, and good morning, Anne-Marie. Great question. I think it really comes down to how do you measure success? If success is measured in putting on a solid, comprehensive, factual case, the Democrats did a great job, and Adam Schiff definitely stood out. And I think he is right to get those accolades because it was a grueling presentation, and he got through it along with his colleagues. In that respect, it was long, as Nancy alluded to. It was a little repetitive, and in a traditional trial, you do run the risk of alienating your audience if you keep them trapped for too long and you feel like they feel like you're talking down to them. But let's be real here. The real audience is not those 100 senators. It's the American public. And clearly the strategy was the House managers are going to use every minute of every hour they're given to plead their case. Now, if you measure success in terms of changing minds, I'm not sure about that. And that might not be anyone's fault because it might just be an impossible task. Look, Republicans have broadcast from the beginning they are not impressed with this case. And so in that respect, probably no amount of evidence and witnesses and honed arguments is going to change that. So again, within the confines of that structure, the real audience probably is the American people here. And so therefore, Democrats will have the high ground in saying, look, just because Republicans were closed-minded in terms of witnesses and in terms of their ultimate vote, doesn't mean this wasn't a righteous, principled case.
So, Joseph, the Democrats argued yesterday that there was no evidence or proof that former Vice President Joe Biden acted improperly by firing Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin, who was actually investigating Burisma. This is part of President Trump's sort of central defense. I'm curious what you made of that argument, because, you know, whether the vice president and his son were doing anything nefarious is actually not part of the articles of impeachment, right? So they didn't really have to bring up the vice president in order to prove obstruction, right? Is it obstruction of Congress? What were they doing yesterday? Obstruction of Congress?
Yes, that was abuse of power.
Abuse of power. So I got my two, yeah. So they were trying to argue abuse of power. So they didn't actually have to bring up Biden at all, but they chose to. What do you make of that?
Anne-Marie, there's a tactic, whether you're in a debate or whether you're at a trial, that rather than hide from an issue that you know your opponent is going to use, you get out in front of it, right? You define the issue before allowing your opponent to do that. And I'm sure that's what they were going for yesterday. It was a curious strategy to spend so much time on the Bidens because the consequence to that, as we've heard from senators like Ted Cruz, is, well, you've argued this point to such an extent that there was nothing to see there that, well, now I kind of want to know for myself if there was something to see there. So I get what the Democrats were doing. They may have spent a little too much time on it. And I think what's going to happen now is the debate about whether Hunter Biden or Joe Biden are relevant to this case is going to come to the forefront with respect to the argument about witnesses. And I think that's where Democrats might regret a little bit how much time, because like Lindsey Graham said in the clip you showed a few minutes ago, they've opened the door for this now. So I think you have to be careful what you wish for.
As you know, Joseph, the president tweeted, or maybe you're just hearing about this, earlier he tweeted, slamming impeachment manager Adam Schiff and the minority leader Chuck Schumer. He also said, quote, "Looks like my lawyers will be forced to start on Saturday, which is called Death Valley in TV." Meaning,
what does that mean?
It means no one's going to be watching, is the way I think that he's suggesting, right? That it's a Saturday. People are doing things on the weekends. Okay. And so, again, just sort of giving you a little window, a little insight into how the president perceives his presidency and all that goes with it, which is that, look, if my guys got to appear on the weekends, then they're not going to be getting the eyeballs that they want. Ratings are going to be bad.
And the other guy's got prime time.
The other guy's got prime time, and I'm stuck on Saturday. Bad ratings. So I wonder then if that is the way that he's seeing it. Could we see? And I know that there's been a slight amendment, or they may be thinking about limiting the number of hours that they actually present on Saturday for the very reason that the president is tweeting about, Joseph.
Yeah, Vlad, I heard about that plan as well. I mean, it might be a nod to the president to kind of shift his defense to prime time, like you say. It might be a well-needed break for these senators to be able to have a short day on Saturday and then go home for the rest of the weekend and pick it up again on Monday. But you're right, though. This president sees things not so much through a legal lens, but through a public relations lens. He's a very media-savvy guy. And so for him, it doesn't surprise me that his first thought is not so much the substance of what's being argued, but when it's being argued and who's watching.
Well, I guess, if the president is not concerned, it's because Senator McConnell has said that they're taking their direction from the White House, and you're not seeing any Republicans budging at all when it comes to witnesses, when it comes to more evidence. And a lot of them are saying, let's just wrap this up so we can all go home. This is, political theater. So if the president doesn't have to worry about that, he's not in legal jeopardy, then I guess if you're worried about the ratings or you're worried about the eyeballs.
You're worried about the 2020 campaign. That's what you're worried about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's right. I mean, look, this would be a very different experience if you needed, let's say, 51 votes to remove the president.
Yes.
But President Trump knows that 67 is such a difficult threshold to meet that the likelihood of that happening is so low. And so I have to think that that's baked into his strategy, as well as the strategy of his defense team and Republicans in general. They assume that they know the outcome, and they can be a little cavalier about how they conduct themselves, about how they vote on witnesses, and I'm assuming they're counting on people, while there might be a lot of eyeballs on this right now, maybe forgetting about this a few weeks from now. I can't imagine Democrats will allow that to happen on the campaign trail, but Republicans, like Lindsey Graham just said, they want to get this over with. And so I have to think that whether we see witnesses or don't see witnesses, whether we go far into next week or just midweek, you're going to see a vote soon to dismiss one or both of these articles.
That's a great point.
That's an interesting prediction.
Great point.
When we talk about people on the campaign trail over and over again, the issues are it's not impeachment.
No, Dave Weigel had an
op-ed
today in the Washington Post where he specifically talks about that when the candidates are out there talking to voters in Iowa, for example, impeachment, they've actually already assumed that the president's going to be tweeting, the president's going to be saying things that they disagree with, and they want to focus on the candidates and what they're going to be able to accomplish if they receive the nomination in 2020. Joseph Moreno, always great to have you, man. Some great points there. Thank you.
Thanks, Vlad. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Always great to join you.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.